So we got a little bit of a visual description of some of the tech that's been put around London. Can you tell us, can we even imagine a network of ubiquitous sensors and technology that meshes together to help in this fight against air pollution, which is a scourge in cities around the world, local air pollution? I know there's a lot of emphasis on climate change, and rightly so, in talking about sustainability, but people forget that local air pollution is a clear and evident killer of millions of people a year around the world. And it often disproportionately affects the poorer populations even within London or in other cities, not just poorer countries versus rich countries, but in rich countries, there's a disproportionate burden of pollution borne by the poorer neighborhoods, and data can help fight that. Tell us how technology can help in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. I mean, as Mette covered this morning as well, we seem to have just accepted that, like, the normalization of poor air quality. The World Health Organization released a report in 2022 that said that 99% of the population will breathe unsafe air at times. And as you say, there's disproportion there. Some people will breathe it a lot.
It goes to the history of urbanization, right?
Well, exactly.
The old expression, wrong side of the tracks.
Right. And we saw
because
it
the prevailing
COVID.
winds, people lived on the wrong side of the tracks if you were poor. That's where the housing was cheaper and the pollution would go your way.
Absolutely. And we all experienced during COVID the air was so clear, it was just incredible. The World Bank released a report in 25 that said that poor air pollution reduces global GDP by 5%, which is about $6 trillion, which is incredible. And absolutely, I completely believe that digital technology can both help to measure and fundamentally understand air pollution, the sources, and we can then influence the sources, but also our behavior as a result of it by having near real-time data. We obviously partnered with the Breathe London program with the Mayor of London office, and by providing that infrastructure and the connectivity, and it was an absolute game changer. And like 30 of those sensors, there were 146 sensors, and all 30 of the sensors were actually put around 18 schools locally. With the explicit intent of understanding the local environment in those schools for the sake of the kids walking to schools, and looking at potential road closures to be able to improve the air quality.
And we've done that, right? There have been incidents where roads were closed.
Yeah, and
NOx, for example,
it reduced nitrogen dioxide emissions by 23% in those local environments, which is absolutely amazing.
So this is always my concern when people are techno-utopians and peddle sensors and IoT and digital twins. And, this is the kind of thing business journalists, unfortunately, get peddled all the time. I get press releases almost every day of the week with some new tech gizmo solution. Now, it used to be digital twins and then IoT, and then now, of course, more increasingly AI focused. And the concern I have, other than just being spun, is even if this works as stated, you end up with a data deluge. The data is less important than the ability to act on the data. So I'm heartened to hear about the examples of the road closures that help the schools reduce, in that case, the NO2, the NOx pollution.
And ultimately, you can envisage through these programs and the positive impact it's having, you can envisage a time where you've got all that data usable on your devices, that then you say, actually, I'm not going to take this street, I'm going to take that street because it's got half the pollution of this street.
Right.
So, and it will really help people to adapt their behavior as
Talk
well
a little bit more about those analytics and how you make them user-friendly. Are they meant for the consumer, the individual? Can we act on it as ordinary people, or is it really for a dashboard on Mette and his colleagues in the City of London to take action? What is the target audience for some of this stuff?
Well, I mean, if we kind of zoom out beyond air pollution, I think, and to sensors and sensors, digital innovation, connectivity, then fundamentally we want to be influencing policy and influencing government. The Mayor's Office, London, we want to be supporting residents, and we want to be supporting industry as well. And I think if we change tack slightly, forestry is a really good example where we know that forestry is the world's best resource with regards to managing air quality and also combating climate change. But we lose 10 million hectares a year, give or take, which is about the land mass of Iceland. And a lot of that is through illegal logging and also forest fires. And forest fires is obviously also then creating additional pollution into the air. And again, digital technology can really help there to prevent the causes as well as to manage the consequences of it.
How is it? Is it from spotting fires early, or is it putting sensors in the trees to monitor carbon absorption? What's the actual technology you're talking about?
So we've done a couple of development programs we've worked in Romania with a partner in terms of putting acoustic sensors into trees, which are also geolocation, and then taking that data, processing it with the help of AI, we can actually then pick up chainsaw noise, identify the chainsaw noise. We can geolocate it by triangulation through the sensors, and then we alert the park wardens, of which there's only a handful, but over a huge area of forestry, to say, right, there's a logging happening right here, right now, because it's real-time data, so that they can go there straight away to stop it, which is amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah, there's some shrimp in Ecuador that I'd love to hear about.
I know. I listened to that yesterday, which I think is amazing. So yeah, acoustics. I mean, we've done stuff with identifying whales in South Africa as well, to be able to then alert fishing communities to pull up their nets, for example, through the whale stand. But and another one we're doing is with the European Space Agency, which is on fires very specifically. So we have a lot of infrastructure, obviously in all the markets that we operate on at a ground level. So we've put environmental sensors onto those infrastructures so that we can then understand, identify the environmental conditions that are sort of ripe for fires igniting and then propagation of those fires. And then the European Space Agency, with their advanced Earth observation technology, will then look to also spot the fires happening. It was talked about yesterday by Andre.
How much of this is driven by AI, which appropriately gets a lot of attention now, versus more conventional technologies like sensors, for example, that have just become so much more affordable, almost free, asymptotically approaching zero. The way that, for example, space launch, SpaceX, the costs are declining so rapidly, it's enabling lots of new and interesting ideas like space-based data centers and so on. What's a real enabler here? Is it actually AI, or is it those other things that used to be too expensive before and are now you can digitize everything?
It's the combination, right? Because sensors are becoming much more affordable, as you say. Therefore, we can put sensors everywhere and get so much more intelligence.
Right. Edge intelligence, they call it, right?
Exactly. However, and with that comes an awful lot more data to then process.
Right.
So that's where you can really then leverage the AI to be able to then extract the value of that in near real time. So
does it have to be the LLMs, which carry with them energy consumption concerns? Can they be small models, bespoke models? We heard from our speaker from the Met talking about appropriate small language models that might be used for weather, for example, and climate.
Sure, yeah, it's both. It's people. We want these models to be ubiquitous, so that then they can operate in isolation at small levels, but also then the large language models that they can have like significant impact.
Right.
I mean, what's really exciting is that actually whilst the sensor technology has moved on a lot and they're becoming really cheap, relatively speaking, actually there's a whole new wave of innovation, which is within the telco industry, which is actually using our existing network as a sensor without putting extra devices on. So,
how does that work?
But it's really, really exciting.
Meanwhile, get a question or two together. We'll have a little time.
So, for example, Vodafone within the UK has tens of thousands of like microwave signals that go across our networks, and these are the signals that carry the data and the traffic between towers, etc. So there's these kind of crisscrossing data like programs all over the place, and we monitor obviously the performance of that because it's then the performance of the your devices, and we can see changes in performance, and we've now correlated that to the hydrological conditions in terms of rain. So then what we can do is actually we can use that to infer to become a virtual network, which gives us then hyper localized and real detailed levels of precipitation. And we're working with the UK Centre of Ecology and Hydrology on a project with the River Severn. So the River Severn is west of England, bordering on Wales, and it's quite a big catchment area. So the main concentration of basin is about 10 square kilometres with 2 to 3 million people that live there. And the idea
what level
is
of confidence do you have
floods.
at the time? Is it correlation or causation there? The network fluctuates and the rain is more or less. Is the evidence strong enough that you can say we?
Yeah, it's super strong. So we've doubled the data points. We're working with them, but the point is to then be able to have real, and it's to enhance the existing weather systems to be able to give flood warnings. So whether it's the residents, whether it's farmers, whether it's industry, but also kind of government and land planning, etc., to be able to then address like our resilience to climate and our adaptations.
That's very exciting. I want to make sure to leave time. If there's a question or two, obviously front row, quick hand. Let's get a microphone here. We don't have a lot of time, but let's see if we can get in a couple of questions.
Hi, it is Fung Skovgaard from Investgain Capital. And I have four projects in Alberta. And we are converting 3, wildfire. You were talking about 5 wildfire and forestry. And we are converting it into green energy. So how could you use AI to quantify the value that we are bringing commercially, like carbon credits, environmental protection, governance, to replicate best practices?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the more efficacy of the data that we can have over our environment, the more we can then correlate to the actual causes and the effect. And carbon credits has seen a lot of, and rightly so, it's seen a lot of focus in terms of the efficacy of different projects and the robustness thereof. So I just think the more data we can have to then shore up that correlation, the better that we will all feel with regards to the authenticity of the credits, for example.
Another question? Anywhere? Not, there's something on the Slido I see. People want to a person asking, can you map some of this data onto accessible Google or Apple Maps so, say, bikers can go on less polluted routes? Is that something that we can envision doing?
I think absolutely. I mean, I've had 2 touch points with the Breathe London. I worked at Dyson previously, and we did backpacks for the school kids to map air quality on their walks to work. And we gave them the data, and they then changed their behaviour to take different routes. So I believe it should be really imminent that this level of awareness should be readily available to everyone really soon.
That's great. I'm glad you said that. In fact, it's one thought I had when I saw that video. 20 years ago, when I first did the environment job at The Economist, I went to UCLA to talk to one of the leading environmental experts there, Professor Arthur Weiner, and he had equipped his grad students with backpacks to go around LA.
Yeah.
And among the things they discovered, I mean, LA, one of the most polluted cities in the world historically, and they cracked the problem of smog. But what they discovered was the city measured pollution at a certain height.
Yeah.
But children walk at 1 meter, not at 4 meters or 3 meters. And bus tailpipes back then, at least, were down low. And so what they discovered was pollution levels were much greater. The actual exposure of kids is different from what was measured by the city, and it also varied by location. So I encourage you to pursue the backpack experiment further. I think we'll find some disparities that high-level monitors will pick up.
And also, I mean, particularly, I'm a cyclist as well. And when you're cycling through the city and you're behind the tailpipes, then you're right there. You couldn't be any more direct.
That's right. Any quick question? If not, there's a hand in the back. Let's make it very quick. We just have a minute, but I'd like to get people involved. Short and sharp question, please.
Haryasovsky, Northwestern. How does the growth of the commercial space industry and the fact that there's increasingly private geospatial data part of the mix impact the analysis that you're giving?
Thank you. Quick answer.
Quick answer. There's, the satellite data will give us a massive amount of awareness to be able to then kind of feed into these data models, be it either on a localized level for individuals or be it on a globalized level for policy or for government. I think that obviously the challenge is the emissions of putting satellites into space in the first place. And we talked yesterday about when they come back into orbit. So there are challenges there that we will need to kind of face those realities, and we need to put policy in place specifically around kind of space in that regard. But the opportunity with regards to data and understanding is massive.
This is massive. And of course, as long as that data is made available for public use and not hoarded by private parties.
Yeah.
But I think that should also be part of perhaps some governance or mandate
I agree.
going forward.
Yeah.
Well, great. We're out of time, but that was absolutely fascinating. I think you'll agree. Lots of interesting things, and another example of AI that can, if done right, enhance sustainability. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
For coming here.